Howdy. Welcome to this edition of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are live here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. This edition, you can catch us on Facebook at Aggie Football, also on Twitter at Aggie Football. I'm going to have to bring my makeup back, Coach, if I keep looking at that camera over there. Coach Jimbo Fisher and the Fighting Texas Aggies after Alabama last week, Arkansas this week. We will be in North Texas. A lot of things to talk about. How are you, Coach?
Doing well.
Good to be back with you.
It is good to be back here, and hopefully taking the next step forward to getting better in what we're trying to do this weekend.
And that comes Saturday against Arkansas. It's a chance to go to North Texas.
Oh yeah.
Which is a great home of some great Aggies there. That's always nice, and makes it kind of a special weekend, doesn't it? As well, playing at AT&T Stadium.
Well, it does. I mean, it's as good a venue as you're going to play in. That's one of the nicest places in all of America. And to be in a neutral site game, which I think is always good for your kids to experience when you go to bowl games and we start getting to the national playoffs and things like that. Those are things that those kids get to continually experience what a 50-50 crowd's like. And, you get to play a great opponent in Arkansas, another SEC game, and it's been a great traditional rivalry in the history of Texas A&M. So, it's great to get things going.
You made a comment on Monday. It's also an opportunity, as you were saying, a 50-50 game, but they also play some college football playoff games there. So let's start getting used to that, right?
Exactly. You get back in those venues and that atmosphere and that place, and then that's one of the places that does it too. And I've been fortunate enough to my times to play there one time. It's a heck of a venue. And I think it's a great experience for these kids to be able to say they walked in there and played.
I was thinking about this, of obviously the Aggies and Arkansas playing there, but I'm thinking of our kids like Rashad Paul, who went undefeated at Bremond. He played there, state championship all the time, right? The Jalen Preston, all the kids from Manville, they're constantly, it's old hat to them, which is
Well, a lot of these
good,
kids do
isn't
get
it?
in there. It really is. And for our kids that are from that area, it's great for them to get back, and families don't have to drive. We actually come to them for the weekend, and that's a huge, Dallas is such a huge recruiting area for us, and Dallas-Fort Worth and all of East Texas and that whole thing, and being able to get up there and get in front of those fans and make it a little more convenient for them, all that, it's a great weekend.
He is Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll review last weekend and preview the upcoming weekend. I want to tell you that the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show and Aggie Football is brought to you by Bud Light, proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics, reminding you to enjoy responsibly. We'll have much more of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are live on location here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. Stay with us. It's presented from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show rolls on, presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location here at Rudy's 504 Harvey Road. And we continue with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. And before we get to the game itself on last Saturday, John Cox, class of 95, says, "Thank you for fighting till the end on Saturday. I was jumping up and down to know we have a coach with enough guts to call a timeout with 3 seconds to go in the game. Keep fighting. We love you. Welcome to Aggie Land."
Well, hey, you can't. You know, people say, "Why do you do that?" Well, you can't preach to your kids to live a certain way, do a certain thing, and you don't reinforce what you believe and what you say. And that's just the way it is. And there's time on the clock. We're going to keep playing. Now, hopefully, we can play better. Well, we can hopefully run. We want to run that clock out instead of call timeouts. But that's part of our growth. And hopefully that game up there the other day, I mean, we had some opportunities in the game, and we gave them some opportunities, especially early in the game. We had a turnover. But then what I was so proud of, we didn't panic. We turned around, went 99, took a 99-yard drive. Went back and tied the game up. Now, they tied it again, but then we came back down and got a field goal and should have got a touchdown out of that drive. There were some plays. What I'm trying to tell and there's certain plays when you play really good people as far as that know how to capitalize on everything you do. And that's where Alabama's at right now in their program. They understand those things, and their kids do. And they kept the pressure back on us, which was good. But we had a couple times to flip it and take the lead or get right back on. We just couldn't quite make them. And understanding when those times are, how to play, how to win, the psychological disposition to understand that. But as far as competing, having toughness, and all that type of stuff, we did that. What we have to do is execute better in some key moments and take advantage of some things and keep ourselves right there. And because the bad part of the game was 21-13 with 2:07 left in the half. They're in a 3rd and 7 on their own 27-yard line. I'm getting ready to call timeout to get the ball back in 2 minutes to try to go tie the game. And they hit a little pass in the flat. And what happened, we just got a miscommunication, busted the coverage. Well, then we missed a tackle, and they scored. Then we get 2 great plays to get back to go get our points before the half. And I'm not going to say, I actually thought we made a pretty good thing. Their guy made a phenomenal play.
Yeah.
He did. He made a great play. Then we got a penalty. They kicked. And that's where it went from 21-13 with 2 minutes to 31-13. And that was hard to overcome. And now we kept playing and had some opportunities, but, we got to play smarter and understand that. And the key of that game, people say, well, just forget it, move on. No, you don't. You got to learn from it. Everything you do, what happens, you have to learn from those situations and understand them, and then that's just not repeat them.
Right.
That's don't make the same mistakes again and understand what those situations are.
How's this week of practice been then?
Actually been outstanding. I mean, I'm going to knock on wood. I mean, very good today, a lot better than it was last week as far as I think a guy's learning how to practice and understanding, and I know this sounds crazy, why you practice. I mean, people say, well, I practice and I'll get it right. No, you got to practice it till you can't do it wrong, because when you get in a game, you don't think. You revert back to your training and how you practice and your habits of making sure. People say, well, you practice and get better. No, practice doesn't make you better. Perfect practice makes you better because now you're developing a good habit. So when that time comes, you react, your muscle memory, your mind, you revert back. You're doing it the right way, and you're thinking. And not only doing that, also how you think, your self-talk to yourself on each play and what you say and the things that make you do things right. And when the situation's hard or it's not, it doesn't matter. Those things that key you in to just let me go execute the next play. And we're developing that. And I hate to say yesterday was outstanding. I thought Monday was really good. I thought yesterday was outstanding. I thought today was really good. So hopefully we can finish off. And then we got to take it to, Jerry's World on Saturday and play well.
But that's that step that you keep talking about in the growth and development of a team.
It is. You have to. And you go through it. Unfortunately, it's like your kids. I say, growing hurts sometimes. I told them it's just like you're growing pains. Remember when your knees used to hurt and you go to bed and mom would rub your legs and your shoulders and, you'd say, I said, growing hurts, but at the same time, it's pivotal for you to get to where you got to go to. Now, once we learn and get through that, we don't need to hurt anymore.
Right.
And we need to get smart and take those things to the field. So we'll see.
You like seeing your kids disappointed.
Heck yes.
Right?
I mean, I didn't get the result I want. I want to be disappointed. I don't want to be and I got to show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. Okay? I don't like losing. Now, and it doesn't mean I don't have to do it with class. I can do it with dignity. I can respect myself, but I ain't got to like it. And I got to be disappointed that I put all that work in and I didn't get the result I want. Now, how do I get that result?
Right.
Now, that's the thing you got to say. I say work backwards. How do you want the locker room on Saturday afterwards? Now, let's work back to make sure that works. Let's do the things we have to do to put it in place for that to happen. And those are all things that we're really learning how to do. I know that sounds crazy. People say, well, they got to know how to practice. Well, no, you don't. There are certain ways you got to practice. And the way we want to do it, those guys are still learning. But I'll say this, they've had a great attitude and they're working very hard.
He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. That's Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing. That's our thing. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us from Learfield. Welcome back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are live on location from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. And in case you didn't know, because it's in the title, but it is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit. Capital Farm Credit, together, we're better. Along with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. And, okay, I saw this. I heard about it during camp, and then I saw Inky talking about it. So you invited Inky Johnson to speak to your team.
Yes.
Inky had travel problems.
Yes.
Well, Inky, he recounts the story afterwards that apparently through the 3.5, 4 hour plane delay, whatever. Anyway, they pull the plane back to the gate. Inky says you would think that getting everybody off the plane, this and that, so the guy who's working is doing the flaw. He's just flossing there. He's not doing anything but just floss. He was having a good old time. Inky said, and I thought of you immediately, Coach, he said, we don't rise to the occasion. We revert back to our training.
No doubt.
And I'm like, you brought him in to speak, and he's a terrific story, and he's a great follow as well, and I love to hear him talk. But he says that, and he had the composure to go through all of that. He couldn't wait to talk to your team. But he said that, and I was like, boy, that it's on the same wavelength as what you were talking about. Instead of saying, what do I always do here? Let me get everybody accommodated. This guy's just playing on the side of the plane.
They just do what you're trained to do every day. We
Yeah.
create habits as human beings, and what our habits are is what we are. I mean, that's like Marcus Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell is the same thing. When you get into battle, you revert to your training, and it's amazing when your mind and body, once they finally meet, it's amazing what you can accomplish and what you can do.
Yeah.
Because your mind holds you back so much from what you're doing that doesn't allow to create those habits. And it's exactly right. It's like Inky was saying, you revert to your training because we're all in. It's instinct. It's habit. It's just who you are. And when big pressure comes, your habits come straight to the surface.
Right.
I mean, they come straight to the surface because how many times have we all done something and something big happens? I don't even remember doing that. No, but it's just what you do all the time. That's just who you are.
And someone like Inky, obviously, he has to have that in the back of his mind, or that's got to be his training because he had football taken away from him, but it hasn't stopped him.
No, it hasn't stopped him. He's motivating other people and having a tremendous life for him and his family, and he's a tremendous young man. Yeah. What he's accomplished and what he's doing, it's amazing.
Absolutely. You had some notes put in front of you, and I'm always interested, Jimbo, when you get some notes and the stats, what do you look at? Like if you're going into this game Saturday, what do you look at when you're looking at team stats and things like that? What jumps out at you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I watch the film and I see if the film's match. Because listen, numbers can mean anything. You can make numbers mean anything. Okay, we're such a numbers and a. I'm not. You have the analytics of all the sports. People do. I'm not one of those guys who buys all the way into that. I think there is a benefit there. I think there's a structure there. But you got to trust your eyes, what you see and what you know. And then after watching the film, are they struggling against the run? Are they struggling to run the ball? Are they struggling versus the pass? Does it match up on film, or is it one team just got them in a certain thing, and they really did well in the other three games? You know what I'm saying? Or what got them, or why it got them? Third down percentages, turnovers. And you look at their averages and you go through and statistically to see where they're at, and that can be, was it the field position, was it weather, or was it actually the guy, the physicality of the guy, or what he's capable of doing? So, I mean, they got to match up with the film. So, I mean, you're just corresponding things that what you see to give you the best possible chance to where you think you can, where's our strengths, where's their weaknesses, where's our weaknesses, where's their strength, how are they going to come at us? And you're trying to match up in what they do of how you got to prepare for the game.
Yeah, it's you want all that information.
Everything.
Right?
You get as much as you possibly can. You
absolutely.
got to.
And that's where input from coaches, right? All that.
Everything. I mean, it comes from 1,000 different places.
And you've been in that role as a coach, working for a head coach, so you really appreciate all that your position coaches do, don't you?
Oh, Lord.
And you don't want yes men, do you?
No, I don't. I want people to stand up and believe in what they say. And once I say this is the way we're going to do it, that's the way we're going to do it. But I want guys with opinion. You can't sit there and have people. And I want to hire guys that are smarter than me. I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. Right. I want guys I can learn from. I mean, the guys I pick ideas up from. I mean, that doesn't bother me. For a guy to be opinionated or be strong-willed and like a player, I love strong-willed players. Listen, when you get out there in front of 100,000 people, there's a bunch of big guys on their side trying to knock your head off. You better have some will about yourself. I mean, it doesn't go. In practice get heated. Coaches get heated. Players, bounce back at coaches. Sometimes how it's done, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. This game's an emotional game. You got to have guys who understand, believe in what they know, and know what they know. Don't back down from it if they do it. And then once we decide as a group, then I'll make the final decision. We'll move on.
He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. That's Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. We will continue. This is Aggie football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit rolls on live from Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road. Texas Farm Bureau invites you to visit 12thman.com/maroon contest. Register for your chance to hang out on Kyle Field with the Yell Leaders at the next home game. Winners get photo ops, game tickets, pregame hospitality, and the chance to get a pregame tour of Kyle Field. Register today at 12thman.com/maroon contest. As we continue with Jimbo Fisher along the Aggie Radio Network on Facebook Live, on Twitter Live, and here with these outstanding Aggie fans here at Rudy's. I see you waving over there.
Got some fans.
Okay. Because get a chance to listen to you. You said something. You were talking about first Courtney Davis, and I love seeing him have the breakout season for him because injuries have sidelined him. Before you talk about him, though, you talk about players with ball skills, and you talked about all the properties of what Q does so well. But can you explain ball skills and how that is such an important factor?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the game's about the ball. We forget the game is about the ball. Everything we watch about football has to do with the ball. I mean, 99% of it. Now, some fans, if you're a lineman, your son's a lineman, you watch that. But, I mean, we all watch the ball. And the guys that can catch it in different ways, you can get it to them in, short, deep, run routes in the crowd, outside, inside. They can judge it. That can, when it's around, they find a way to get their hands on it. They keep them on. I mean, that's what it's about. You got to have, guys can run and jump and hit, but only a certain level of guys have tremendous ball skills. And those guys, that's the guys that put numbers on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
You got to have ball skills to be able to put numbers on the scoreboard because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And he's one of those guys not only blessed with athletic ability, he has tremendous balance, body control, and tremendous ball skills.
Between the knee injuries and the shoulder, he's been limited, so it's wonderful to see how he's playing right now.
It really is. It's fun to watch him, and he's just now really starting, I think, just hitting his stride. Because, it's kind of, I don't say been waiting for something to happen, but he practices and he gets this hurt, that hurt, and his body's just now getting back into competition level. You hadn't done anything for 2 years at the level, the physicality that you're doing it at now at the high level of skill. It's hard, to say, okay, I got to do it next week, and you're sore, and then that soreness is starting to work itself out, and it's becoming natural, and you'll see him getting stronger and stronger each day.
He starts feeling better, gets a little more confident, doesn't he?
Oh, without doubt. And this guy can be one heck of a football player now. He can be a heck of a football player.
You've got some playmakers at receiver,
we
don't you?
do, and Damien's done a tremendous job. Jamon has been the leader of that group. He's been leading them like crazy, but he and Kendrick have really, Courtney and Kendrick have really emerged, and you've got to have a vast number of those guys because people could take guys away. You know what I'm saying? And they've emerged. Buckley's doing a great job. Paul's doing a great job. And that good. And of course, Jace and Trevor at tight end are doing a great job. But, you got to have a group of guys where they can't double guys and you can pick your matchups.
Yeah, you play some teams and it's like, oh, if we take this guy away, we've got a chance. I don't know if that's the case. I think you have the depth at receiver. It's hard to take one away because someone else will emerge.
Hezekiah and all those guys are just continuing to grow and grow. And you can't, and our offense is set up that way. The quarterback has the freedom to go to all the guys. There's certain looks and certain things, but he can, if the matchup's back here, he can go. If the matchup's over here, he can go. It's like a pro offense, Ben, that we get with the way we teach the quarterback. That's why he can spread the ball around when the looks aren't right for the other positions.
And week in and week out, we're going to see more and more of that rapport between Kellen and all the receivers, aren't we?
They are, and it's just, body language. And then playing under pressure, and guys you can count on, and knowing and understand what they do well, what they don't do well, and what they like, where they want the ball thrown, how they want the ball thrown, when they want the ball thrown, when he can do. All that's part of just growing together because, you talk about so many moving parts to throw and catch a ball with the blocks and him move. It takes a lot of time. It just takes time.
And when Kellen has that time, right?
Yeah.
And is that one of the differences between him last year and this year, Jimbo? It not rushing and just a little more.
I can't speak to last year because I didn't coach him.
Yeah.
It's hard to ever comment on a guy until you coach him and know what he knows and what he's been told or what he's been taught. So all I can speak of is the time I've had him.
Yeah.
And he since the spring he's done that.
Gotcha.
First of all is learning what to do, learning our offense. I always equate it. If you don't know what to say, if he kind of knows. Well, it's just like when you kind of know when you go through a neighborhood driving, You know, how many times you get lost? How many times you've ever done that the first couple times you go to somebody's house and well, I got it. You ain't reading the street. And then you go, let me make sure I read it. Well, you can't do that. You got to play fast. So the more he knew, the faster he got to play. And then you start seeing the intangibles about him and being able to compete and his athletic ability and his mind and his decision making. He just gets better and better at it every day.
He's so much fun to watch. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. Stay with us. Aggie football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, rolls on from Rudy's. Football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. Thanks for staying with us. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show continues. We put this out for questions, and we had a couple in the first couple of weeks. Woo, it's like playing gin or something right here. So I'm going to go through a couple. I love this one, first of all. What kind of advantage does Keldrick Carper give?
Well, getting him back out there is a lot of depth he can really help us with because he was playing really well before he got injured, and the depth playing in nickel at safety and the different things, physicality in the run, and he was playing really good football for us, and getting him back is going to be huge.
How advantageous is it, though, that Leon O'Neal, who's playing for him, plays against Alabama, is getting that time that you can't incorporate that in practice, can you?
You can. I mean, it's a whole different animal. When you got to go in a game and play at the level they play at. than the group of guys he has had to go play against. I mean, it's tough, and he did a great job, and he's developing very quickly.
He's going to be something, isn't he?
He's going to be a good player.
He really is. Oliver Sims asked, does playing physical teams like Alabama and Clemson early in the season prepare the team better for the rest of the year?
No doubt. I mean, those guys have had that. Their D lines, their O lines have been as physical as anybody's, and we stood toe to toe with both of them. I mean, we stood right. They didn't win it. We didn't dominate them, but they didn't dominate us, and we were able to stop the run and do some things. And they made plays, we made plays, but it does build a lot of confidence within your players.
Ian Curtis wants to know, how do you build strong team chemistry?
Well, I think the self-talk in which you have, the way you talk to the guys, the things you do, there's things off the field you do, there's things in the field you do, and you bring in people to introduce them how to interact, how to talk, and how to interact with each other. You think that would be very simple. Kids have a hard time. I mean, they talk to each other, but I'm talking about really communicating and understanding each other, know how to. So when they get challenged, that they don't get mad, they don't, learning how that self-talk and learning all that. And the other way to get tight is you got to go through some really tough times. I mean, listen, you never know what a friend's like or somebody's like until there's some tough times. There are tough practice, tough days, things aren't going well. That's when you got tons of friends when everything's going right. There's all kind of friends. It's when those things get tough. That's what a football team does, the hard practices, all the dedication, all the things to do. You go through something that other people don't go together, and it just pulls you together.
You don't want the finger pointing, do you?
No. I mean, there's reasons that because you don't finger point, we correct. We see that's a problem, that was a mistake, we move on. It's not personal. It has to be fixed. And today sometimes kids do get it's well, you're pointing. No, I'm not. I'm pointing at the problem. You happen to be the one that broke it or didn't do it right. So now let's fix it and move on. Yeah. We're not trying to. It's not personal. Nobody's blaming anybody. Right. But you have to point things out unless you can't fix them.
And you told us last week one of the keys with Nick Saban was the offense and the defense were always together. Yeah. Never separated. Right.
Yeah. I mean, as a team, a cohesiveness and how you talk together in the things you did, and that's the way we are. And then our special teams. Our special teams, our offense, our defense, we're all there for the same common goal. We all have an individual job. I always say that's the I and win for me to do my job and do it well so our team can be good, but understand you're doing it for the guy beside you.
Speaking of special teams, I was able to have Braden Mann on my podcast this week. He was most excited when I told him that you called him an athlete. He was thrilled by that.
all kickers they want to be classified as athletes. All kickers want to be classified as athletes, there's no doubt. But he is. He's a really good athlete. People don't understand, when you kick a ball, the guys can there's a lot of balance. The guys that have great balance and body control, which allows consistency, which allows power. You can't do it without that. And he has it tremendous. He is a really good athlete. He really is.
You talk about the all three phases in this special teams. And, Coach, I have this feeling that Rashad or Kwame, they're almost right there. I just feel like they're going to be breaking it really, really soon.
Yeah, really. And the punt return game, Rashad's done a really good game. We haven't had many punts to return in the last couple games. The way the punter is, Alabama's punter shanked a couple punts, he kicked some short. So big thing, getting hands on the ball and catching it and doing that. So that's as big as even returning it, making sure it doesn't roll and give up all the hidden yardage in which you lose, which we had one in that game that we should have caught. But sometimes when the ball's so short, you get used to scooting up there, then you keep thinking, man, that guy's going to kick it over my head.
Right.
And so he let one get on there. But other than that, he's been doing a good job. And Kwame, hopefully we don't have a lot of chances for Kwame to do that. Right. But and more for Rashad. But,
right.
We're getting better at that.
You were getting such penetration that in the last couple of weeks, we've seen punters go to that rugby style because
yes.
you're getting some pressure.
We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there. We're trying to affect them. And we've had some guys kick some punts out of bounds. Did it at Clemson one time, too, after we almost blocked it. And did a good job. And our special teams, as far as those parts, are doing it. And like I said, our field goal block team, getting the one last week. But you watch this week. We knocked their guys backwards. We almost had a couple more this week. So, those guys are doing a really good job up front and that stuff, too.
Much more to come with Jimbo Fisher as we'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credits. Live on location here at Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. That's what tied the game against Alabama 7-7. And for Jace Sternberger, another touchdown for him. That is 4 on the season, and it works perfectly as we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location here at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road in College Station. Coach, your tight ends, between Jace, Trevor Wood, and then at practice the other day, I'm watching Glenn Beal. You go from big, bigger, and biggest.
Yeah.
You got some size there.
We do, and it matters to hold those guys on the edge and be able to block, and also have big targets to throw the football to. They all got great careers and futures ahead of them.
Sure. I was asking Trevor earlier this season. It's almost like, I don't want to say the game passed him by, but at Arizona, didn't really use the tight end, but he's really in a good place here, isn't he?
And unfortunately, people don't realize the first couple games he's really hurt. He got hurt in the last scrimmage we had and just started getting healthy. He played in the first game, but not much. Started getting decently healthy in Clemson, and then it's coming around. So he's got a chance to be a really good football player, and we need him to, and he's doing it, and you'll start seeing him more and more.
You get to mix and match. You get to have one on the field. You can have both on the field. You can do a lot of things.
You can, and then the three-man services and be able to move. And those guys, you can split them out like receivers too. So they do a great job in everything.
Yeah, and just that height. I was thinking Billy Kennedy might take them from you after the season's over and play a little basketball. He's got some power forwards there.
They do now, big bodies.
And it is that versatility. It's not like just Jace can only do this and Trevor can only do this and even Glenn and Ryan can. They can really do all sorts of things.
Oh, they can. I mean, and that position is one of the most talented positions. You look at it in the NFL right now. That's the guy that you can't match. The Gronkowskis of the world, the big guys can't run with them, and the little guys are too little. You know what I'm saying? And they can flex out like wideouts or like tight ends. They can block. And those body types, you know what I mean? And they're just – those guys have a great career in the game.
Is blocking first and foremost when it comes to
that?
It
is. I mean, it is. You got to be able to do that. You got to be athletic. But, you can't get caught with just a guy who can just block because then people, as they say, you got a dead guy on the field as far as I don't have to cover him. I can play and I can help everywhere else. I can do different things. Now, the running game, yes. But you got to have a guy that can do both.
Because, again, that's the pressure on the defense. You want to put a linebacker on them, or you're going to have
exactly
to use a defensive back, right? You get that kind of advantage, especially with their speed. Because there's some speed for all of them also.
They can get vertical. They can run vertical, and that's the key. There's a lot of tight ends can catch, but the verticality of a tight end, when those guys can get vertical, it changes you on defense. You have to really be aware of them.
We'll have much more with Jimbo Fisher. We're going to preview Saturday's game against Arkansas when we return here to Rudy's. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road in College Station. Tune in to Fox Sports Southwest every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Catch the Pulse and stay up to date with Texas A&M football. as we like to do, Facebook Live. Who's checking in? Jamaica right now is my favorite one. Chattanooga, Utah, Texarkana, Arlington. They said, can't wait to see you on Saturday. Houston, Lake Fork, Hutto, and many more. Thanks for checking in on Facebook and on Twitter. With Jimbo Fisher, the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, I'm Andrew Monaco. Arkansas on Saturday. And we talked a little bit today when we got together earlier. You've known Chad Morris for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I know Chad when I was coaching LSU, and he was a high school coach in Texas and extremely successful in all the state championships and things he did, and great offensive mind. And, of course, when he went to Clemson, we played against each other quite a few times. So, I mean, he's a heck of a coach. He does a great job.
And he has his team in Arkansas. There's always with John Chavis on the defensive end. You know John Chavis from going up against him when you were at LSU and he was at Tennessee.
Exactly
correct?
right. Yeah, exactly. It goes way back there too. So John did a great job. They had some unbelievable teams at Tennessee, and the things he's done. He's been in this league a long time, so had a lot of success. Very multiple in what he does, and he'll have those guys ready. And they played a heck of a game Saturday against Auburn. Auburn only had 220 yards. I mean, Auburn had they intercepted a pass inside the 10, picked up a fumble, ran it back, had 2 punt returns inside the 20, and blocked a punt. That's how they scored all the points.
Right.
I mean, so, that's great. Hopefully we could do those things. But as far as just going out and moving the football on offense, Auburn had a really, really tough time. And, Arkansas is number 1 in our league against the run. I mean, they're a great run defense, and they're doing a great job.
And you said they're getting some guys back.
Yeah, they're
right?
getting healthy, getting a linebacker back that was a really good player and a couple other guys, and it's getting better and better as a defensive end also.
And even with Brett Bielema in the past, they're going to have a line. So they've got some experience on their offensive line.
Oh, they do.
Right?
And Chad's going to use those guys. They're going to move the football. He always does a great job. Hopefully they won't move it too well. But those guys are doing a good job. They can throw it. They can catch it. And, they're getting their quarterback situation. They got a lineman or two that's got back from being banged up. So they're starting to come together.
I have to ask you said that you invited, and Chad was always – you said an open invitation to talk with you at LSU. You've done that with high school coaches, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. We do it with everybody. I mean, that's the way you learn this business. There's a fraternity of coaches, and we understand everything we learn from somebody. We was fortunate enough to be with somebody, pick up something. Somebody was fortunate and took the time to sit down with us and show us something or learn something. And if there's something that we do that can help them, I'm more than blessed to. I mean, there's no secrets in this world.
Right.
I mean, we all act. I mean, everybody acts like there's some deep, dark secret in this thing. There's not. It's get good players, coach them well, put them in the right position, get them at the right time when you call the plays, but they can look at the film, and there's nothing wrong with helping somebody.
Right. It's almost like that circle, right? It is. If you don't get that hand, and it's the same thing you're learning also.
Oh, you do. Anytime you learn, and we pick up things from them.
Right.
I mean, it's not that. We pick up things. Some of the best things I've ever learned from high school coaches. I mean, what they do and ideas, and sometimes they have to be more creative.
Right.
With things they have, facilities they have, players they have, different things. So you learn from everybody.
For the most part, they don't get to recruit.
No.
I said for the most part.
I'm not getting
but
into
they really
that
don't. But they really don't. I mean, you have your district, and whatever you have it there, you could have some talent sometime. You really can't be a one-trick pony and constantly do this if you don't have the personnel for that. So they do almost have to get a little more creative, don't they?
They do at times. They really do.
Yeah.
And those guys put a lot of time in there. Hey, if you sit down, I don't care who you are, you sit down there and work at something long enough, you're going to come up with some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Your defensive line, I just watch in the last couple of games. You told us how Dalen Mack is playing so well. When you have success on that defensive line, Jimbo, does that translate to success for your entire defense?
It's everything. When the guys that put their hand in there, if they get knocked around, it's hard for anybody on defense to play. When those guys can stop the run, and we played the run really well the other night. It helps everything. Then your pass rush, and it sets the tone for everything because where the ball's got to come out of the quarterback's hands or no yards being made, it can make up for a lot of things, and defensive linemen are as critical as anybody on the field.
Do we also see success for linebackers then if the defensive line is able to
linebackers?
block?
Listen, secondary guys don't have to cover as long. Linebackers don't get blocked as much. And those guys stop running, all of a sudden it's 2nd and 10. It's more fun to play DB than it is for 2nd and 3. I got to play the run. I got to play the short pass, the deep pass. I mean, it makes everybody better.
You talk when you use the word balance. Can you apply that word balance to defense also?
Oh, no doubt. Okay. I mean, you have to be able to distribute and be able to play the passes, not give up the big plays, but still have to help in the box with your linebackers and your safeties to be able to complement those D linemen. But when those guys up there can take on 2 blockers and make 2 guys block them and can take 2 gaps and do things they got to do, which, Alabama does that on defense. A lot of those great teams do, that it makes it tough and it makes everybody better. I expressed earlier in this hour how I felt special teams is almost there.
And I feel the same way when it comes to creating turnovers, Coach. I know Larry Pryor got the one interception, but I feel like one forced fumble, one more interception, I feel like the dam's going to break for this team.
Well, it is, and the worst thing to do is go try to have turnovers. You do things the right way. Do the ordinary things right over and over and over. The turnovers and everything will come. When you tackle, you get cover. You got to cover tighter. You got to be in better position to tackle, step on their toes, hit on the rise, put your face up. Second guy stripping the ball. All the things that go on. And you say, well, I'm going to go try. Then you start lunging and jumping, trying to get a pick, and you miss the ball. Then you try to strip a guy and don't miss a tackle. You can't do this. Go tackle the guy, and then the second guy strips, put your face where you're supposed to put it, see what you hit below the neck. Cover the guys the way you're supposed to cover. It will happen, and again, that's where pressure from the front can make a difference.
I got you. It all comes together.
It all
right?
together.
That's why it's a team.
That's why football is the greatest team sport there is. I mean, there's so many moving parts. I don't care if something is weak; it gets exploited.
That is Jimbo Fisher. He's the head coach of the Fightin' Texas Aggies. One more segment to go here from Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road in College Station. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. I'm no longer going to ask if it's enough distance when Seth Small kicks the football, because he gets plenty of distance on that. He's been outstanding, has the Aggie kicker, Seth Small, the freshman out of Katy. This is our final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. We want to remind you, AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing, that's our thing. That's been a very pleasant surprise is Seth Small, and he has delivered in his 2 games so far.
Oh, he's played really well. But, it has been – it's great to see him go out and do it, but he didn't practice. Yeah. He was kicking that way in practice every day. We were kicking him every day with Daniel, and unfortunately, Daniel had an unfortunate injury, but Seth has done a wonderful job and played really well.
He really has. It's good to see that. Okay, so out of curiosity, can you prepare to play in a dome? Is there anything you do differently this week?
No, I mean, we actually, it rained, had lightning today, so we went ahead and stayed in the end. Could have went out at the end. It was a little wet. I said, nah, we've been indoors, get used to the field, get used to being confined area. We stayed on the turf a little bit more to get used to that. So that's about all you can do.
Turf and grass, do you prefer, if you're playing on grass, to stay on grass or?
I like grass. I'm a grass. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the turf. The turfs today are is 100 times better than what we played on. That was concrete painted green. That was concrete painted green back in the day.
You may have been just out in this parking lot,
right?
right?
Oh, the burns and this. Oh man, that stuff was. Whoever come up with that now, we need to have a little talk with them. But that stuff now is a lot nicer. But I just think you ever feel like Kyle Field, some of those great grass fields, man. It's just. That's what football, just the smell of the grass and everything else, it's what it's supposed to be played on.
You want to see them all dirty and everything,
right? Oh,
right?
that's part of it, man. That is nice.
You want to know you played afterwards,
exactly
how
right.
you feel and how you look and all of that.
Exactly right.
Does the 11 o'clock start come into play?
Oh, no. I mean, it's going to happen. We're going to have to be ready. Your pregame meal's 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So you're at 7 a.m., you're leaving, you're getting over there, staying by 9, getting dressed. There's no doubt. I mean, it's going to be an early morning. We'll have to get woke up and get going. Yeah. And hopefully it shouldn't be a problem, but, you got to be ready to go.
Absolutely. I was looking at some of the numbers for A&M and doing well on third down conversions. How much does first down success play into third down conversions?
You want good on third down, be good on first down. There's no doubt. First down is important to down the ball and keep it where it's, second medium, second short, and then you open up your playbook, and then your third downs are very, very makeable. And having that success is critical.
I always like to look at not just third downs, but third and what, right?
Oh,
so
no
the
doubt.
Third and the shortest distances you can possibly get.
Third and 6, 1 to 2. We had one the other day. We had a flip play on. We missed one on a 3rd and 2 yesterday, boy, and we had an option to throw it on the front side or run, and he did it. But we snuck a tight end out the backside there, and would have been a big one. But that's part of it. I mean, you can get some chances, and you can open the playbook up. You really can. You can run it, be short yards. You can get on the edges, or you can take shots when they got they're going to give it up and give you a chance to throw the ball down the field. So.
Anytime you can keep the defense uneasy, you love that, don't you?
You do. I mean, as an offensive play caller, the more multiples of things you can do and feel comfortable doing them within the down and distance, the defense knows they have to defend. It makes it harder on them.
Another thing that I like to look at, because with this style, the pro style, time of possession becomes important also?
Oh, it does. I mean, time of possession can be deceiving in that if you hit big plays, because sometimes you can have short drives. But also I think it's very important, especially when you're trying to rest your defense and things. And you got to be able to mix and hit those plays, but then sometimes you got to conserve and grind a little bit to make sure your defense is rested and doing the things it has to do.
With this Aggie offense and being able to use the tight ends and the fullbacks and running longer drives than most fans are used to, you would like to see the longer drive. Again, with the big hitter, I get exactly what you're saying. But there's times.
And I like those one-play drives. It makes me real smart. I mean, one-play drives, I'm a lot smarter. They're not bad. But you do. I mean, in the physicality of the game, the key is control the tempo of the game. And that's the one thing we didn't do enough the other day. Alabama controlled the tempo. We had some moments of it. The other game, even the Clemson game, once it got going, we controlled the tempo of the game.
Right.
And you do that offensively by short line, being able to create explosive plays, but being able to execute down the field. And it's also tough to play on offense on the other side. If I'm not out there for 6-8 minutes, and all of a sudden now I got to come off the bench, and I know we know something, I might not get it back. So you press yourself. You know what I'm saying? You don't play as well. I mean, those kind of things all matter.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's the tempo. There are times when you may not huddle because you don't want the defense to substitute. You like being able to go up against those 11.
Yeah, try to get up and don't let them get their nickel people in, their dime people, or short yardage people, and that's a gamble every time you do it. But it's something that you're trying to control the game.
If the Aggies come away with a win on Saturday, they have to do what?
I mean, first of all,
when the Aggies, I'm sorry, I said if. I take that back. When the Aggies win, they'll be doing
what? Win the
what?
turnover battle, win the big play battle, controls the lines of scrimmage. We got to be able to run the football and stop the run. There's no doubt. And then the big plays that go with it, and then the third down red zone. I mean, you got to be able to convert touchdowns in the red zone, and you got to be able to convert on third down to get off the field, and again take care of the ball and no kicking game woes.
Beat the hell out of Arkansas on Saturday, Coach.
That's the plan.
You got it. Thanks so much. Absolute pleasure talking with Jimbo Fisher. This has been the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Join us this Saturday. Our pregame comes at 10. The kick is at 11. The Aggies and Arkansas on the Aggie Radio Network. For Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks and gig 'em.